Hello and welcome to Climate Watch. I'm Fei Fei. Here in Beijing, over the past 2 days, China's been hosting the Global Leaders Meeting on Women, a gathering of international leaders, advocates, representatives for women's rights. Exactly 30 years ago, also here in Beijing, the 1995 UN Fourth World Conference on Women adopted the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, a landmark document for advancing gender equality worldwide. Today, as we continue to move forward on women's development, frameworks like the UN Sustainable Development Goals have placed gender equality at the heart of global progress, including climate actions. So when it comes to gender and climate, where do these two agendas meet? And how can we better empower women while also tackling the challenges of climate change? The answers may not be straightforward, but Wang Binbin of Peking University has been exploring what's happening on the ground here in China. Her recent report, Synergy of Climate Action and Gender Equality in China, sheds light on how women across the country are responding to and also shaping the climate conversation. Wang Binbin is an associate research professor at Peking University's Institute for Carbon Neutrality. This episode is also part of our collaboration with her program Beyond Climate Dialogue. Also a quick note, please pardon the background noise during the recording. As much as I enjoyed chatting with Binbin in her cozy office, there was some construction happening on another floor. Hello, Professor Wang. Thank you again for joining us on Climate Watch.
Hello, everyone, and it's my pleasure to join Climate Watch again. And actually, we have a cooperation with Climate Watch, Beyond Climate Dialogue, program I initiated in Peking University. So I'm also very happy to see that these two programs can cooperate again on the topic gender and climate.
Well, I think for our listeners, you probably heard previous episodes with Professor Wang Binbin before on Climate Watch. We've done one on a positive climate narrative. And then we also had a similar discussion earlier this year, actually, about females' awareness and females' perspectives in climate change and in climate actions. With that episode, we actually launched our cooperation with Beyond Climate Dialogue. Yeah. That's our first episode. And we're happily again to discuss the importance of gender issues when we're talking about climate change. And you actually had some very fun findings throughout your research. But first of all, especially for those who haven't listened to previous episodes before, I do want to check with you about why did the gender issue stand out to you in particular? So how has being as a woman working in climate research look like for the past 2-3 decades?
I think it's back to 2018. At that moment, I was selected as one of the participants of Homeward Bound program to Antarctica, as we mentioned the first time. I think it's a point to remind our audience to really review our last expo. So that's a global female leadership program. And every year they will select 100 female scientists and practitioners from around the world, and with 1 year coach training, and then send all of them to Antarctica on the same ship to exchange and interact with each other, learn from each other, and also explore the climate impact on Antarctica. And in this way, help them to see who they are and especially their gender identity, as a woman, what they can do, what they can contribute, and what kind of situation for the women around the world we are now in, and then what we can, if we can come together, what we can contribute together. So from that trip, before I participated that trip, I didn't feel like there are this kind of unfair situation in China. And I thought that in some other countries, maybe. But when I was very young, I was educated, men and women are the same. So we are same. And in my process of growth, I never met different difficulties to see, maybe because I'm not equal with men, so I got different treatment. So I have no personal experience on gender equality, but it's in Antarctica. On that ship, there are 100 scientists, female scientists from almost 30 countries. And when we talk about gender issue, all of them have different kind of reactions. And they have different kind of experience, and most of them are not so happy. They told me, like, they just give me a quick example, like job interview. If they are women and we will like experience pregnancy and give birth to baby, and it may shorten our career. So when the young women, they join some job interview, they may refuse because of this kind of problems. And of course, the interviewers will not explain this kind of reasons to them directly, but actually they are the truth. So this kind of injustice. So that trip helped me to realize there are a general injustice around the world on gender issue. And also from that trip, I have the impression that a lot of women, although we have different kind of background, but we are addressing climate change from different area. And once we come together and we voice out together, it's very powerful. So when I came back, I want to do some research, and I found there are no data and no papers in China on this perspective. So I think it's very important. And I even double check with some foundations whether they would like to sponsor me to do the research. But they said, can you provide any evidence that is really important area? And I said, I just can see that it's zero at that moment. And we should do more, and we should start because it's an interdisciplinary area. Yeah. But they said, we can sponsor, from 1 to 100, but not from 0 to 1. So I think this is a seed in my mind, in my heart, that I think is very important. If we can help more women to see their potentials in address climate change, then we can change the whole narrative and also keep the momentum for Paris Agreement. So I'm very happy that this year is a good opportunity. Like China will host the global summit on women issues. So that's the background.
So that's very interesting. You are in charge of the very first research that looking at climate issues and also gender issues. So I'm also very curious about your findings there. So how did you approach this problem since you are the starters? And what are some of the exciting findings that you could share with us?
So if only me, I'm the expert in climate. So I have no expertise in gender area. But I'm so lucky at the very beginning of this year, I got a chance because I organized a seminar in my institute and invite the expert from a gender perspective to join us, like a dialogue and to exchange. We realized that as same as the expert on climate, the experts in gender area, they have no expertise on climate. So at that moment, we have a consensus, hey, why not we come together? And thus we can contribute to this common topic from both sides. And only in this way, we can have the whole picture. And then we can show the whole picture to other friends and help them to understand why this area is so important. So that's the start of the research.
So experts on the gender issues, yes, they are also thinking climate change is an important topic for them.
The expert in gender perspective at that moment, they understand environmental issues a lot, like environmental protection in China. So they have a lot of cases in how to mobilize women to protect the river, protect the air. But what climate change is, why climate change is different with the general environmental issues. At that moment, they have not so clear ideas. And So this is from this kind of exchange, we understand each other deeply, and we help each other to see that's the bottleneck. Once they realize, climate change and is part of the environmental issues, but it's more typical, human cost problem, and it's more global, popular topic. And especially now, China play a very important role to address climate change as the biggest emitter in developing countries. So I think that's a second stage. Once we realize this kind of situation, we think, yes, if we can really identify the potentials of women in addressing climate change, maybe we can release their potentials and help China to reach the carbon neutral goal as early as possible.
How important are women in our actions in addressing climate change in your research?
Because the research is based on the survey database. So I conduct a survey on public awareness in China, national survey, since 2012. The second year after every 5-year national plan, I will conduct the survey to test whether the people accept they understand the policy about climate change, and to test what they want to do, what they can do. So we cooperate with Yale University, Yale program on climate change communication, and they help us to see not only how to identify the awareness, comprehensive understanding. So we have segments like career, what kind of career, age, education level, gender, and what kind of area, rural or urban. Yeah, so from this kind of segments, then we can conduct segmental analysis. So this is the opportunity. So this time we choose out gender as a segmental to cross with other segmentals, and thus we have the new data analysis. So from the data, we can find that women have lower awareness when we talk about what climate change is. Then men have higher awareness than women. And also when we ask, do you think climate change is a human cost problem? Then most of men will understand it very quickly, but women's awareness is lower than men. The main reason is for women, because this kind of technology in China is mostly from the central government and is a kind of top down. And so that also from the political news and some government documents. But for women, they have their channel to get this kind of information is not as colorful as men. So this is why their awareness on what climate change is and the cause of climate change is a bit lower. But I have to say that it's a deep analysis. The whole awareness, the general public's awareness on these two topics are much, much higher than other countries. Yeah, it's also because because the central government take climate change very seriously. So the whole country now have a national campaign to address climate change. So all Chinese awareness on what climate change is and the cause of climate change is above 90%. But when we look deeply from gender perspective, we can see there are still some difference. Yeah, so we just say, then why? Then how can we match the map? Yeah, This is the map. But if we go to another perspective to see influence, then women feel more influence from climate change than men at a personal level. And if we also ask, do you want to pay more for climate-friendly products? And women's answer is also higher than men. Yeah, so you can see it's very interesting.
Women are more likely the actors.
Yeah.
When it comes to addressing climate change, it's just they may not have a higher understanding of especially the policies, I guess, around that issue.
It's not the policy. It's although they don't know it's human cost, maybe, but when they heard, climate change is a big issue which will influence the next generation, influence the plants and animals, then they have this kind of compassion. I want to do something.
That's very interesting. And then I think what's more important is about the implications for us, also for policymakers. For example, for me as a podcaster, what sort of changes should I make to better cater my contents for female audiences? And also, I guess, in another example, as policymakers, what kind of ways of communication should they be adopting so that they can have a better communication channel with the female audiences?
Yeah. So let's go back to the difference just now we mentioned. Even the women have a bit lower awareness on climate change, the problem and the cause. Their awareness to take action is much higher. So if we can help the women to raise their awareness, then it means that we can release their potentials to do more, right? Even to take the lead or to be the driver. Then we also test the communication channels and like what kind of content, what kind of channels to compare the gender difference. And we found that like women prefer to the daily communication. And men prefer much more senior content, like political issues, economic issues, topics. But women prefer more soft content, like related to their daily life, how to have a better life, and also how to take care of the relationship with their families and the mental health. So this related to the climate narrative. Right. And because the central government think, it's so important, we should encourage the people to take action. And if it's just policies, then it's men's narrative. But for women, how to translate this kind of policy, this kind of like a serious topic to more soft, to more human related, and like to be a warm story. Yeah.
It's like men are sort of preferring stories when it comes to data, research, high level dialogues. But female prefer people-centric stories, like what changes will it bring to me and people around me, and probably to the society around me in a larger scale. And that's very interesting because I think right now, especially on the podcast of Climate Watch, that we talk to a lot of experts on these policies, on numbers, on research that probably cannot resonate with the female audience. But for stories like when we're talking about two communities or a person with names and with stories, that sort of can ring the bell for them.
Yeah. Yes, it's very important because I also try to collect some cases, like case studies. And I found at the community level, women is are very active. Like the Friends of Nature, a local NGO, they have a program or an initiative. It's 玲珑计划. 玲珑 means small. So if we translate to English, it can be a small action initiative, which means that everyone can take small actions. But once we come together, we can be a sea, be a river. And usually we will say, everyone know climate change, but actually our understanding level is different. So they prefer to identify the people who have no deep awareness on climate change and tell them what climate change is and why it's important, to inspire them to design their own actions. This kind of people from different kind of communities, some from they are a full-time mom, take care of their kids, and some students, and some villagers from the rural area. Like the full-time mom, once they get the knowledge about climate change, I still remember they design different kind of game tools to play with kids. So from this kind of game, they help the kids understand climate change when they were very young, and also discuss how to address climate change from the game. So it's a game style. So they download the knowledge and they translate the climate change knowledge in a style the kids prefer to accept. And for students, they observe a girl. She observed that during the graduation period, students would like to send the flowers with their professors to show the gratitude. But this kind of flower, they cut and also transport from Yunnan province and to Beijing, and from the transportation and also from the how to make sure the flower can be fresh. Then it's a lot of CO2 emission. Then this girl have a initiative to call on the students. They can do flowers by themselves, like paper flower, or share a fresh flower with their professor, but not cutted flowers. So it's also from climate change perspective, change the kind of lifestyle.
From very small details in life.
Very, very small and interesting perspective. Because if we have no this kind of life experience, we will have no this kind of idea. It's from her daily life. Yeah. And also some farmers in the small village, once they realize climate change really impact their daily life, they come together and they became to be a communicator and to introduce climate change to their neighbors, other female. And then they come together to say, hey, how we can get the new knowledge and how can we sell our fruits and plants in a climate friendly way. Yeah. And then they have a new community on climate.
That's so interesting. And climate change become sort of the gossip topic among villagers. That can really, I think when we're talking about to a lot of researchers and policymakers these days, it's easier for businesses and industrial levels to really implement any type of policies. What's really difficult is among these communities, because you can't enforce them to do a certain action on a daily basis. It's more of a voluntary basis. We are sitting on a sort of a report by you looking at all the case studies around China to see how female and women are playing a very, very important role, even though, as you mentioned, their awareness level may be a little bit lower compared to their male counterparts. So what are other more out of surprise for you case that you find along the course of your research?
The research perspective is trying to reach out to multi-stakeholders, government, international NGOs, academia, and business and local NGOs to see whether they have this kind of cases. And the surprise is all of them, they have. But the interesting point is some of them, they may have no awareness at the very beginning that their program have the perspective of gender, especially local NGO. For the international NGO, like UNDP, UN Women, and ADB, and International Plan, like this kind of international NGO, they have a project in China. And because gender mainstreaming strategy is one of the important strategy highlighted by UN. So this kind of international NGO, they have awareness at the very beginning to design their related program, like UNDP. They have the Her and AI Future. They go to the local community in rural area and help the students, the girls, have the channels and resources to reach out to AI. And girls from the early age, they have the chance to understand how AI will change our future. And they also have chance to be trained by this kind of AI technology. And thus open a window for them to grow up towards the STEM directions. I think it's a very frontline methodology to change the girl's life, and also very international. But for the local NGOs, when I contact them and test whether you have the women-friendly or you have the program to help the women to improve their awareness on climate change, at the very beginning, they will say, let me think. And then they have, maybe. Let me check. For example, the Linglong 计划, the small action plan, when I double check with them, do you have this kind of a perspective? And they checked with their, how many program and is men or women participated in their program. They found, more than 60% are women. Yeah, like just now I mentioned the full-time mom, the girls from the universities, and also at the community level, the women, the moms, they are planting the fruits and also try to have a better well-being. They come together. So once they have this kind of gender perspective, they not only can give me a lot of case, not actually, but also since that time, when they recruit new participants, they will test, whether you are men or women, how to keep the balance to make sure we have the gender inclusive program designing.
Among these local NGOs, gender wasn't on their top of the agenda, but naturally, female became a very, very important and vital force in their actions. And so right now, as you mentioned before, right now, the city of Beijing is hosting the Global Summit of Women right now. You will also be part of a lot of activities surrounding female rights and gender issues. So how do you think your research and case studies this time can help not only in China for a lot of global participants this time to better understand the synergy between gender issues and climate issues?
Yeah, you are right. This kind of a situation is not only in China, it's around the world. Like how to find the synergy between climate change, climate action, SDG 13, and also gender equality, SDG 5. So we have now 5 years left to reach the SDG, and we have 17 SDGs, and we cannot only one of them. Yeah, we have to reach all of them together. So this is why synergy is so important. And the data can show us that female women have a lot of potentials, as we discussed just now. If we can help them to improve their awareness, of course, they will contribute a lot. And this, for China, I'm very happy to know that 30 years ago is in Beijing. We have the Beijing Declaration from the Fourth Women Conference. And it's also from the exchange with the gender experts. They helped me to realize, right, if we call it as a kind of human right, women just get this kind of human right as equal with men 30 years. Yeah, it's 30 years ago in Beijing. This item was listed as one of the human rights. Female have the same human right with men. Can you imagine that?
That's a very short time frame. Yeah, that's very surprising actually, because we thought of women's right as equal as men. As a matter of fact, actually, in today's world, but actually it's only been 30 years.
Only 30 years. So I think it's a huge achievement. Right? Now we think, it's common. It's a common sense. Yeah. So this is why I'm so proud that in these days, China hosts the summit on women in Beijing again to celebrate women have the human right, and also I think it's a strong signal to the world. We should continue this campaign for more women around the world, and it's not a kind of, women's important, men's not important. Actually, what we want to say is we have the shared future. Yeah, we should respect each other and cooperate with each other. So these two topics, if we put them together and we can release the women's potentials around the world, I think it's a starting point for us to think, how to find the synergy between these two SDGs and rethink women's situation and contribution. I reviewed a lot of literatures, and more than half they talk about the vulnerability.
That's the common narrative.
Yeah.
Women, especially in developing world, are vulnerable to climate change.
Yeah. So it's good to see more and more experts, they realize women is vulnerable, but it's not enough. Women have strong intentions to contribute more to address climate change, and they have their own resources. Like they have more people, human connection, this kind of advantage, how to set up this kind of connections. From my research, I also want to help people to see this kind of advantage of women, their willingness, their intentions to do more. So thus, not only like help them, support them, but also trust them and empower them to contribute from their own perspective.
Right now, what the common sense among, especially climate circle, is that, as you said, women are vulnerable to climate, are one of the most vulnerable groups when it comes to climate change. But what you are arguing right now is that it's not really helpful to frame women as the vulnerable group, really, to our climate actions. Because what we need right now is actions. And women can be a very, very important and helpful contributor to the global actions to address climate change. But how exactly can we do that to empower women?
I think it's first is we should, as you mentioned, the first point is women is not vulnerable. We have a lot of work now, like the UNDP's project, when AI now is emerging as a very popular topic around the world. UNDP go to the local community, rural area to help the girls there understand what AI is. I think it's a very, very, very important use of approach. And so once we keep in mind that female have their own advantage, then how to make use of their advantage. If we can change our mindset, not only, women is vulnerable, I should help them, but women have their own advantage. Their compassion. Then how to use them, how to use this kind of compassion to work together. So sometimes it's just we change the mindset.
Exactly. Change the mindset. That can be easier to be said than done, but that really needs a lot of, I think, systematic and detailed changes. Do you see that change happening right now? That people are changing or sort of at least trying to change, of just when thinking about females in climate issues is just about protecting them, but also actively engaging them. Do you see this happening at?
Yeah, sure. Because, I think more than half of the literature mentioned highlight vulnerability, but the others, they are talking about women's leadership. They are talking about especially the women's leadership in the global south, also very popular topic. And I also conduct research on SDG, and I found that it's the global south who support UN to implement the SDG at the very beginning. So global south, the women in global south, they are very, very important power to push the SDG ahead. And also when we discuss about the future, of course, women could do more. And in China, from the case studies, we can see, as I mentioned, the governments, the academia, and business, even the business in renewable energy, there are now become some startup created by women. And one of my friends, Chun Guang, she graduated from MIT. When she came back to China, she co-create a startup on renewable energy and help the traditional business to manage their energy emission. And she's now very successful and help a lot of traditional fossil companies for green transition. But in our old mind, we will say, oh, yes, it's a man who can do energy job. Yeah, right. And another case is Le Xiu Jiang, is a happy repairing program. Is in the local community. When we found some small tools like our electric toothbrush was broken, then we threw it out because we think, it's useless. But this kind of repairs, the happy repairs, they can help you. They learn how to repair, and then when you call them, they can come to your house and help you to repair the toothbrush. You can use it. You don't need to throw it away as a rubbish. And so this kind of repairing help us to reach the zero waste. And but in our mind, usually we will think, it's a man, right? The repair is man, they're good at it, and women, we are not good at. But this program, they also trained some female repairs. And this they found is very useful because the female repairs, when they visit someone's house, they not only repair, they also will talk with the householders, right? And usually the householders are old people, and they need this kind of communications, talk with other people. So this kind of female repairs, they not only can help the old people to repair some things and also give them some warmth. So it's like a win-win.
There are also like side effects that we don't expect from this.
Yeah. So once you break this kind of old mind and you give the women some opportunity, new opportunities, you have, the feedback is double value.
Yes, that's very promising. And I'm happy to see a lot of actually on the ground work, not just about protecting women's rights, but also actually engaging them in a lot of actions in our society. I think when it comes to gender issues and climate issues, we're facing a lot of challenges and we need more and urgent actions, and women can be a big part in it.
Yeah. And now when we talk, because the COP30 in Brazil is coming, and we talk about climate change a lot. But when we think of negotiation, emission, and, climate finance, sounds like where the hope is, or where to get more money, to help the developing country. But actually, the women in developing country, I do think they are ready. They are ready to help themselves. So the only bottleneck is if we can realize it, we can empower them, we can help them, support them, then they will create more hopes for us.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Professor Wang. Thank you for today.
Thank you.
A big thank you to Wang Binbin from Peking University for sharing her insights and findings. And thank you for listening to Climate Watch. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a friend. You can also find other episodes from our Climate Watch and Beyond Climate Dialogue collaboration linked in the description box down below. And as always, you can reach me at fei.fei@cgtn.com or find me on my Substack newsletter, Rivers and Mountains. Until next time.